Today, everyone is telling you to train less, fewer sets, lower volume, just train to failure and go home. And yet, the greatest physiques in history were built on high volume. Not 2 sets, no minimalist training, but 20, 30, even more sets per muscle group. So the question is, were they all wrong? In this video, I will show you 4 famous bodybuilders who train with extreme volume, and they built physiques that most people today cannot match. What makes it even more powerful, they achieved this amazing physiques with fewer steroids, with fewer compounds, and far less chemical support than bodybuilders started using from 90s. And still, their physiques remain unmatched to these days. So how did they do that? But before we start, understand this. High volume does not mean random training. It's not just doing whatever you want, light weights, just keep pumping and things will happen. No, not at all. High volume means structured sets, controlled reps, constant tension, and also short rest between the sets. And most importantly, training without destroying recovery. And this is what most people get wrong. You hear every day from some even famous bodybuilders, oh, high volume is waste of time. You will never build muscles with high volume. All you need to do, fewer sets. Do 1 set to failure, and then you will build muscle. But what they forget to tell you, they forget to remind you about themselves. They should also say, do that, and you will tone your biceps, your triceps, your quads, your chest, your shoulder ligaments, etc. You're going to get crippled. They don't say that, but this is exactly what has happened to them. So once again, most importantly, high volume is training without destroying your body and destroying your recovery. And again, this is what most people get wrong. So let me start with Sergio Oliva, Mr. Olympia, who had simply unmatched physique. Not only that his genetics were unsurpassed, probably the best genetics in bodybuilding of all time, but also the type of training that he followed and he basically favored was responsible for developing one of the greatest physiques of all time. So how did Sergio Oliva train? He did 20 to 30 sets per muscle. So not 1, 2 sets, not 4 or 5 sets per muscle, 20 to 30 sets per muscle. The number of reps that he liked to do was anywhere from 8 to 15 per set. And also he rested moderately between sets, anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds. But the key is to understand that he didn't just pump, just walk around and do random volume training. He also used heavy weights, but he did high reps and high number of sets. So he relied on heavy compound movements, also explosive strength, because he comes from weightlifting, where this was his background in his youth. And he used controlled but also powerful executions. His goal was not just to fatigue the muscle, but also to use maximum overload for maximum size and density. He didn't just repeat light movements, he attacked the muscle with weight and volume. So this is very, very important to remember. This is how Sergio Oliva did it. So I'm going to give you one typical training session of Sergio Oliva. For example, his leg workout. So he would do back squats, 6 to 8 sets, 8 to 12 reps. He would start with that. Then he would do leg press, 5 sets, 10 to 15 reps. Then leg extensions, 4 to 5 sets, 12 to 15 reps. Then lunges, either walking or stationary, 3 to 4 sets and 12 to 15 reps per leg. And then he would finish with 4 to 5 sets of leg curls with 10 to 15 reps. So in total, that would be 22 to 28 sets. So you can see the volume is very high. The number of reps are anywhere from 8 to 15 for legs. And obviously, Sergio Oliva developed some phenomenal, not just body, but obviously legs by doing this. Also bear in mind that he also changed his workouts. It wasn't always the same, so you may come across different examples of leg workout. I'm just giving you a typical example of his average leg workout. But bear in mind, he used to change the system. So Sometimes will be different exercises, also different number of sets, but this is like a average structure. When it comes to key details, squats were always the foundation. Sergio Oliva always did squats. He always used heavy weights, but controlled, full range of motion. And it wasn't just ego lifting, because obviously he was doing high number of reps and high number of sets. And this is where his quad size come from. Also, he would do moderate rest, 60 to 90 seconds, enough to lift heavy again, but also not too long, so to recover completely. He also paid attention to hamstrings development, which is often lacking in modern bodybuilding. A lot of bodybuilders just focus on quads, but not necessarily on hamstrings. And this type of training obviously built thickness, density, and row size. Now, the second famous bodybuilder who trained with extremely high volume was Serge Nubret. I did few videos on Serge Nubret, but this time I'm going to remind you in this video about his basic training methods. Again, bear in mind that the structure that I'm going to give it to you was changing all the time. None of these guys was doing always the same program, always the same exercise, the same number of sets. But in average, that was always very high number of sets. So Serge Nubret was known for very high volume. He would train anywhere from 20 to 30 sets per muscle group, sometimes even more. I had that honor to watch Serge Nubret training chest one day when he performed 40 sets of bench press only. But this wasn't the typical workout. He would change, as I said. He would also do 12 to 20 reps per set, so more reps than Sergio Oliva. But he would rest shorter. He would rest anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds between the sets. He never went to failure in any set. So instead, he would do constant rhythm. He'd pay attention to continuous tension and also controlled movement. I've watched him doing arms, for example, and the focus was absolutely 100%. Full stretch, full contraction. He used to do supersets, biceps, triceps. It would literally go one superset after another. I think he was doing less than 30 seconds rest between the sets. And that session would go for 45 minutes, non-stop. So never went to failure. 100% focus, full stretch, continuous tension. Never rushed, never did cheat reps or wrong form. So he was very immaculate about form. It's simply impeccable. He was going for muscle fatigue, and also pump was very important for him. Obviously, not just pump with very super light weights or anything like that for the sake of pump, but pump and the tension, perfect form, and also 100% focus, as I said. So I'm going to give you his chest workout example. Again, Nubret used to change that, but this is one typical structure for his chest workouts, so you will get an idea what he used to do. He would perform bench press, for example, 6 sets, 12 to 15 reps. Then he would do incline bench press, again the same 6 sets, 12 to 15 reps. That would be followed by dumbbell flies, 6 sets, again 15 to 20 reps, yes. And then he would finish with dips, 6 sets, 12 to 15 reps. So in average 24 reps. But as I said, he changed it. I saw him doing 40 sets in front of me in anywhere 45 to 60 minutes, very, very short rest between the sets. I mean, his chests were absolutely from different universe. So the key details that you should remember from his workout were, number one, the rest between the sets was very short, 30 to 45 seconds. Also, he used a very controlled tempo. He was paying attention, especially to eccentric repetitions. He never went quickly down. He was always at least 2 seconds on the way down. Never ego lifting, and never ever going to failure. So this type of training, what it does, it allows for constant blood flow, constant tension, and deep muscle fatigue. And this is exactly how his physique looked. His physique was dense, it was full, and it was aesthetic. So key principle would be time under tension plus volume. That would mean growth for Serge Nubret. Never just weight, heavy weight, and ego training. So when people do high volume workouts, what they miss most of the time is they're using heavy weights. They rest too long and they are using poor form. And this is not the type of training that Sergio Oliva did or Serge Nubret. So this is not proper volume training. So Nubret trained like a machine. He was precise, he was controlled, he was simply relentless. And again, he was known to do very high number of sets, sometimes up to 40. That doesn't mean that you should do the same, but the idea of this video is actually to show you that high volume also works, and actually works very well, and it's much better simply because not only allows for muscle growth, but also does not kill your recovery, does not lead to injuries like we have witnessed that started from 90s, terrible injuries for many famous bodybuilders. But volume training, high volume training, is the safest and the most effective training system for overwhelming majority of people, including professional bodybuilders, even now. So the third bodybuilder that I want to mention is obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold was known to do high volume workouts. He would do 6 days per week, sometimes training twice per day. Arnold would train every muscle twice per week. Most of them did. And when it comes to volume, every muscle group was trained 20 to 25 sets. Number of reps, average number of reps for Arnold was always between 8 and 15. So Arnold was known for variety and also volume. So he would train every muscle group with different exercises in order to attack the muscle from different angles. And also sometimes he would do different rep range. So now I'm going to give you an example of a typical structure of Arnold's workout. So I'm going to mention now his back workout, and you will get the picture of how that looked for Arnold. Arnold would like to start with wide grip pull-ups, always 5 sets, 10 to 15 reps. Now the second exercise would be barbell rows, 5 sets, 8 to 12 reps. The third exercise would be T-bar rows, 4 sets, 10 to 12 reps. Fourth exercise, seated cable rows, 4 sets, 10 to 12 reps. And you would finish with deadlifts, sometimes 3 sets, 6 to 10 reps. So in total, 21 reps. It's a typical example of his, for example, back workout, just to give you an idea. So there are more different exercises, and also 5 to 4 exercises per muscle group. But Arnold would change that as well. Sometimes he would do more, sometimes he would do less, different exercises. Now, I'm just giving you a typical example to give you the taste of high volume workout when it comes to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Key details that you should remember is that Arnold preferred to train muscles from different angles. This is why he chose all these different exercises. Also, he was paying attention to full stretch and contraction. And as Sergio Oliva, he would rest anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds. So Nubret was resting much less, but Oliva and Arnold rested anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds. Key principles again is the volume and different angles for complete development. What people often miss is that Arnold didn't just lift heavy. He focused on mind-muscle connection. This is very important. Then fully contracting the muscle and controlling the negative. He did not go to failure in every set. He built fatigue gradually. So remember this, neither Oliva or Nubret and Arnold, they didn't go to failure. This allowed them obviously to do more sets per muscle group and to keep themselves fully recovered for the second session or whatever next session was, and also to stay away from injuries. This is something that most people neglect. A lot of people go extremely heavy in low number of reps, low number of sets. For whatever reason they're doing it, I don't know, but that's not bodybuilding. And also they're getting injured often. So high volume training is obviously, again, most effective way to build muscles safely without injuries. Now, the fourth bodybuilder that I want to talk about is obviously Tom Platz. Tom Platz was also known for high volume. His volume wasn't only high in sets, but especially in number of reps, and especially when it comes to leg development. So the men with the biggest legs in bodybuilding of all time trained them with high number of sets and very, very high number of reps. So ask yourself now, was he wrong? What is the difference? A lot of people have great genetics, but they never had the legs like Tom Platz. So why Tom Platz had legs like nobody else? Clearly the answer is volume, not just in sets, but also in reps. So when it comes to his leg workout, the typical leg workout would be anywhere from 20 sets up. But when it comes to reps, Tom Platz did anywhere from 15 reps up to 30, but often even higher. He is known to do 40 or 50 reps for legs. There are videos on YouTube that you can watch when he performs over 100 reps squats. And this obviously makes the difference that is unseen, especially when it comes to his quads development. So I'm going to give you now the typical leg workout of Tom Platz and remind you that most people, they don't realize that they're not even close to training hard enough comparing to Tom Platz. So I'm not saying that you should train like Tom Platz in order to increase your quads and legs in overall, but I'm suggesting that you use this principle of high volume and eventually change your leg workout in order to start growing your quads and hamstrings, because they are not going to respond very well with low volume. Now, Tom Platz would start with squats. He would do 8 to 10 sets, 15 to 30 reps. So you see, only in this first exercise, he just buries everybody else when it comes to leg workouts. So imagine how many sets of squats do you do if you do squats at all. And then look at the number of reps. 8 to 10 sets, 15 to 30 reps. I recommend to all my clients to do squats anywhere, at least 12 reps up to 20 or more. Whoever you are, if you are one of my clients, if you are somebody that worked for me and got a personalized training program, you know that for quads, I advise anywhere from 12 to 20 reps or more. So Tom Platz did 8 to 10 sets of squats as the first exercise, 15 to 30 reps. Now the second exercise would be leg press, 5 sets, 20 to 30 reps. Leg extensions, 5 sets, 15 to 25 reps. Walking lunges, 4 sets, time 20 steps. So total for quads would be 22 to 24 sets. Again, bear in mind that Tom Platz also changed his workout. I'm giving you a typical structure, giving you principles. So sometimes he would do different order of exercises, so more sets, more reps, less sets, less reps. But typically this is what he used to do. So when it comes to key details, the most important is to remember that he did very high reps, extreme fatigue, and final sets were very close to failure. They were never to failure, but very close to failure. And what this does is causing maximum fiber recruitment, deep burn, and massive quad development. Because of high number of reps, you will be recruiting all your muscle fibers. Quads are made of a mixture, different muscle fibers, not just predominantly one. And if you don't do high number of reps, you will never recruit all of them. You will always recruit just fraction of them. So what people miss, they see Tom Platz, they think, oh, I need to go to failure every set. But this is wrong. Most of his volume was built up fatigue before the final intense reps. So he never went to failure as most of people believe. So what these legends had in common? So obviously it's high volume workout, but it's not just volume. It is also structured volume, controlled reps, progressive fatigue, and recovery, because they didn't go to failure. This is why they had enough time to recover for the next session for the same muscle group. A lot of people would say, oh yes, they were able to do this high volume simply because they were on steroids. Yes, they were on steroids, but not even a fraction of steroids that people are taking in now. So they had to rely on training as the most important factor, not necessarily steroids. Nowadays, people rely more on steroids than on training. This is why a lot of professional bodybuilders can get away with less volume. But in 70s and 80s, in order to build muscle, you had to rely more on training than on steroids. Remember that. And this is why they had to do the way they do. So what about natural bodybuilders? Natural bodybuilders also respond much better to higher volume. My son is natural. I train lots of natural bodybuilders, and all of them progress with higher volume. Whenever they do lower volume with some heavy duty principles or sets to failure, they get a bit stronger, but they never change. Their physique never changes. They never cause enough hypertrophy. So remember that. And also is much safer. So natural bodybuilders, in order to recover in time, to protect their joints, tendons, and ligaments, they benefit much more from higher volume. I'm not saying you should follow examples of these legends, but the point, the idea of this video is to introduce you to higher volume workout, which will help you build more muscle without injuries. And you have to allow some time and adapt this high volume training to your abilities and your fitness level. It doesn't have to be 30, 40 sets per muscle, but if you're doing 10 sets now, try thinking about maybe lowering the weight a little bit and going a bit more sets or more reps. So the biggest lie today is that high volume doesn't work. This is simply a marketing tool, is hype. Everybody who started doing heavy duty or going to failure ended up with injuries, and then they went back to higher volume training. Most of the people I know who did it that way came back to higher volume, and they started improving over and over and over again. So guys, be careful. You need to distinguish bodybuilding workout from powerlifting workout. I know that it's much easier to lift 4 or 5 plates in deadlift or some wrong form bench press with extremely wide grips, so you travel just 2 inches. The same applies to squats or similar, because that looks attractive. You attract attention, and also is easily measured. You can measure your progress. You can progress every month. But that is not going to build muscle, and bodybuilding is all about building muscles. All I'm doing on my channel is talking about optimized muscle growth and fat loss. I'm not interested in how strong you are, or if you want to be the strongest guy in the village. This is your business. But if you're interested about muscle growth and fat loss, then you're on the right channel. And don't be deluded with the idea that heavier the weights, bigger the muscles. Absolutely wrong. So real progression or progressive overload is not only adding weights, it's increasing tension, increasing control, and increasing total workload. Only when you earn, you should add a little bit of weight, but not if you sacrifice the form or you do lower number of sets and lower number of reps. These legends didn't grow because they trained less. They grew because they trained more, but they trained correctly. So next time you think, maybe I should reduce volume, ask yourself, or maybe I need to do it properly. Let me remind you that after 40 years in bodybuilding, competing 46 times and winning 17 titles, and also coaching personally over 3,500 clients, I have published for you 12 ebooks which are fully loaded with detailed explanation about everything you always wanted to know in bodybuilding: muscle growth, training splits, number of sets, number of reps, fat loss, nutrition, and much, much more. So if you want to enrich your knowledge and start growing muscles and burning body fat, finally, simply click on the link in the comments and you can download my ebooks. I have also published recently Bodybuilding Blueprint course, in which I personally demonstrate the perfect form of most effective exercises for all muscle groups. So if you want to finally learn how to train in perfect form, click on the link in the comments and you can access my Bodybuilding Blueprint course. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, share the video, and also send me your comments. And until the next video, I wish you all the best.